All right, happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to your daily lighting critique. We've got a bunch of videos today to actually go through, but out of the gate, I just wanted to answer a question that came in that I thought was better to be discussed than written in the Discord channel. So the question was basically, how do you prepare to light a character or two characters, interior, during nights, during day shots, whatever. And I think, like, I do want to talk about this. So I did this a little bit when I was the other day. I forget what day of the week that was. Maybe Friday. I did a lighting walkthrough of Kat's scene of just like these characters kind of bouncing around in this interior space with this window light. And basically what I did was I started with my approach to this kind of stuff is pretty straightforward. Like I start with like an understanding of the space, right? They're in this warehouse, they're in this industrial complex. So the first thing I do is I don't allow myself to make assumptions as to what that looks like. I go out and I find reference images of what that space entails. And like I said, and with this scene in particular, I made mistakes because I thought of a factory as being, it was like 1932, and factories are dirty and gritty and oily and everyone's covered in stuff. But in reality, in a factory in the year 2020, everything's very clean, very orderly, very nice. And there's lots of this like polished metal and stuff. So I started off by getting reference so I don't make any misinterpretations of the space. The second thing that I do is I think about the lighting setup. So if it's like a shot like this, it's like, okay, we've got these big windows. It's going to be daytime. What does that mean? We've got a bunch of light coming in this way. We've got some overhead lights. We want to be able to kind of balance things into place, right? Like you start to think about what are the inherent qualities of that scene that would contribute light to the scenario. So things you kind of can't avoid. If there's a lamp, if the character's holding a flashlight, these are all things that you have to take into consideration. Then the next step is to take the existing structure of a shot and like this, we knew that there's window light coming in from the side. Okay, cool. That is our structure. But like that is our baseline. But like, what is the structure of the shot? Like when I talk about the three things in lighting in the classes, the directing the viewer's eye, shaping, and mood, I honestly worry first about directing the viewer's eye. How am I going to get the character to read off in the background, or characters, right? Are they going to be light over dark? Am I going to have to clear out some geometry? How am I going to structure this shot given what I know about the reference that I've seen and the inherent qualities of the light in the scene in order to get the characters to pop? So in this case, it would be like, okay, let's make that background blue. Let's make the couch green so that the character's warm tones pop forward. And then what I do is I start, like once I have a conceptualization, maybe even some like drawings laying out how I'm going to get this thing to read. What I do is I then start blocking in the light based on the lighting idea. So I do zero light linking, no light blockers, no tricks, because the earlier you start doing tricks and hacks, the faster things unravel. So I just kind of block in some light. I play around with it, and I put things where they need to be, and that's how I kind of start blocking out where all that stuff is and where the light's coming from, and like making sure that my composition is reading the way that I want to. Once I played around with that, what ends up happening is I end up having probably too many lights in my scene, or it's more complex than it needs to be. So I tell everyone to do this. I do this myself. I save a next iteration. I delete all my lights and I start over from that point. And it usually is a pretty quick turnaround to get back to where I was with about half the number of lights that I was using. Because the goal is to be as simple and as straightforward as possible. Then I focus on the environment lighting, get the characters, and then start building the characters in. If I'm seeing that they need more shaping, if they need more this or more that, then I might start like light linking some stuff to them. Creating some simple solutions, and then when I start getting that pretty close to what I want, I immediately render it out and get it in the comp and build the rest of the pipeline, which is the composite as well. I do not think about lighting step one, compositing step two. That is a recipe for problems. It's all one pipeline. you think about it as your pipeline. Lighting into comp. Do a fast iteration, then go back to lighting, then go back to comp, then go back to lighting, then go back to comp, because they're gonna play off of each other. Some things you can do better in lighting, some things you can do better in comp. I think that is a big obstacle or a big bugaboo for people when they're first getting started. So that's generally my process from kind of start to finish. And then I just go through iterations, go through critiques, show it to people. I'll show when I light stuff for personal projects, I'll show it to you guys. I'll get your feedback. I'll make my adjustments, and then I'll go from there. Sorry for taking a drink. My hand just started cramping up randomly. I think I'm dehydrated. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question. It's not like I don't have there's no like silver bullet to this stuff. My process is reference, blocking out the lighting to create composition, dark values over light, warm values over cool, getting the characters to read. Obviously the mood comes into that as well. Block out the lighting, then delete it, recreate it, get it into comp as fast as possible, and go back and forth. Always, whether you're shading, doing lighting, always work big to small. Like, what's the most influential light source? Do that first. What's the second most? Don't start light linking and getting the eyes to look right before the window light looks good or whatever, right? Like, work big to small. So that was a little long-winded. Sorry about that, but I hope you guys found that helpful. Any questions about that before I start getting into some individual images? All right. Cool. Let's hop in. Okay. Aaron, let's take a look at, this is your reel, right?
Yeah, it's my latest reel. As of Sunday, I had to pivot on how I handled the Ashley thing. I put together all my render layers, and there was so much noise. There was some swimming, like in the eye. By the time I put it together, I was like, okay, I don't like it. I actually hate it. The camera movement and just the way that it worked. And I tried figuring out like ways to like mitigate certain issues. And it was like, you know what? What is moving the camera in Maya really accomplishing on this piece? And it's like, my answer kept being, I don't think that gets me an animation job, right? Like, yeah. It doesn't prove that I can light an animation. So I was like, let's do just a 2D movement inside of Nuke with stills that are much higher quality. And then because the piece as it was just going to detract from, a better still image. I was like, I don't want to start my reel with, even if I don't start with Ashley, I didn't want to start that section with something subpar. So I just kind of pivoted so that I could move on, because I think if I keep messing with that, it's going to be another month, and I don't want to be on it another month just to move a camera. It felt silly.
Yeah, no, because I was going to say, like, what you have here works. It totally works. Like, yeah. I think it's enough to communicate it. Oftentimes on demo reels, the frame ranges of things are cut short anyway, just for time. And I think that this is a beautiful piece. I think it's a really great way to start. Yeah, I think it's really good. I think the only thing that I would do, and I kind of mentioned this before, is just put like little, like, you can have the big word reference down here, but like here, here. Just put in what your specific, because sometimes it's like, I think I have a good idea. It's much better than it was because it's a limited number of images, but just label them skin reference.
No, I misread that in your last critique, so yeah, I'll do that.
No, I may have said it wrong. That's probably more like that. In terms of the rest of the reel, I think everything, like your breakdowns are, they're all really good. I think from this point, you're in a good spot, because what you have now is, you're just going to keep making work and then swapping out new for old, right? I think that the sushi shot, I'm trying to think of like the order of how they're. Let's see. Sorry. Hey, Kat, would you mind muting yourself? Because I can hear an echo. Sorry. There it is. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so basically, I think that Ashley's the strongest. I think this shot's good. I think the sushi shot might be your second strongest. And
Okay.
then I think that this shot and Prisha might be your two weakest.
Okay.
So I think what I would do. I'm trying to think. I would put. Let's see. Get this one first. It's also a thing where I like to compliment things as you're going through. So it's like this at the beginning, and then I almost want to go the darker one second, the spooky house one. Then maybe Prisha third. Then this. Oh, I forgot about the octopus. And then octopus. I think we can eliminate either this one or Prisha for right now, because I think they're the weakest, and I think we have 6 projects in there. I think 5 is enough to communicate.
Okay.
I would. It might even be this one, which stinks because I know that you worked really hard on it.
I just was trying to get some animation on my reel.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm gonna do the robot, I guess. So my question is to you then: what makes Prisha the weakest one? Like, what do you look at and decide that's the one that kind of gets the X? Because that's one of my later projects, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think.
So
It's just an interesting take. I don't know. Like, what do you see about that's the weakest?
So what I see, what I'm seeing about it is that her, like, in comparison to this one, and also it's like the order of the edit. Like, this is really, really strong, and there's a lot of like what I'm seeing in this one is a lot of small detail, a lot of like really good specular highlights, a lot of like really a really strong focus on every kind of single element. The one thing about Prisha that's tough in this one is that her brighter elements really do kind of blow out, and we lose detail in that. And then like her fill elements aren't like, it's just not that same level of detail that you were showing in the other one. And this is just a natural growth thing, right? This is just.
I don't take it personally. Like, yeah, like I don't like.
It's it's a complex scene. It's just that like we're missing some of that small detail that you've been able to exemplify in some of your other stuff.
Okay.
And then I think that this one is colorful and beautiful, and I think I've always thought this one was really nice. But I do agree that having some animation in there, I think the robot stuff is going to be really good for you.
Yeah.
If we can get that in there and looking good, but I think for now, yeah. But like I said, you're in a good spot, so it'll just be updating newer stuff with some of the stuff that you've done in the past. I'll open up to the floor a little bit. Do you guys is there any one of these that stand out that you, because I that as being stronger or weaker than the others?
I think the haunted house maybe isn't one I would keep, but that's my opinion of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's it's good and all, but it doesn't have, you were just talking about the level of details and stuff, and it doesn't have as much as maybe as some of the other things.
I'm not a fan of the alternate sushi one.
This one?
But I like everyone. No, the alternate one.
This one. Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed this one. I would take this one out too.
Because it's just there. Yeah. But everything else I love.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, that's why I was saying you're in a good spot, because the stuff is good. It's just like, when you get down to this point where people are saying like, maybe this one, maybe that one, I don't know, maybe this one could be this, maybe that one. Like, that's a good spot, because there's not like a clear cut. Everyone's not like, oh, you've got to get rid of this one thing. Right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware that like, I'm aware that the stills, I mean, I don't know how important is a still compared to like an animation when you're applying, I mean, really anywhere, right? Like, unless you're applying for like a job that does like magazine or print ads, like I feel like a still isn't as weighted as like an animation. Is that like crazy?
Yeah, I mean, just because animation has a higher level of complexity, but there's also an understanding when you're putting in personal projects that like you're working on a home machine, like your time might not be there. So I think there are, like, I know when I review, there are some considerations, especially if the work is good. Like if you're like, this is just pretty is like pretty trumps all. That's the number one thing. And then if it's animated, that is a bonus because you're like because having done it that it's more complex that way.
Yeah, because I was even looking at like the robot sequence, right? And even if I don't submit it for the challenge, even if I wanted to like break that into like 2 animated shots for my reel, like I get it doesn't help the animator, but like if I wanted to break that up, that is probably more manageable on like the render end, and then I can get 2 animated shots or something. Like I'm at this point, I'm thinking about, okay, I feel like I've got the tools under control. Like I'm sure there's always technique stuff that comes in later, but like just getting motion on my reel, I feel like is kind of where I'm at. I have a weird secret competitive side where I'm like, well, I feel like I should be moving on with everyone else to like challenges and stuff. So
no, it's a healthy competitive thing. So I don't, I think, I mean, I think that that's one of the reasons why I was excited about the robot one is I think it'll look dynamic on a lot of people's demo reel.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move forward a little bit.
Well, thanks.
But yeah, no, this is great. Ashley. All right, so we've got him dark here at the beginning. It pops up. Yeah, it's good. The only thing I would change, well, the one thing I would change about the light itself is it almost looks like just because I can see it back behind this monitor, it almost looks like it's not coming. It almost looks like it's in the room and not coming from the monitor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think localizing it a little bit more to just and like kind of blocking it out of that backside would be helpful.
Okay.
But I love the shift in it.
Do you think that maybe in the beginning of right there, like it kind of looks like the right side of his face is a bit too dark. It looks almost like there's a flash point to the left side of his
like
face.
Yeah, I think that can come up a little bit. That's a good point. And then I do think that the eye reflections are a little strong right here. In the darker area, I'd keep those toned down and then pop them up as we go on. It also looks like the red light, it looks like you shifted it over towards this side on him, right? I want to give it a try from the other side.
Okay.
Because I think coming in from the other side will create a little bit more rim. It might feel a little bit more like, it might create more shaping and it might feel a little bit more like danger where this is kind of hitting him frontally from our camera perspective.
Okay.
And so I think it's kind of flattening him out a little bit. The level of specularity on his skin in here I think looks really good. That's nice. Any other thoughts on this before we move on, guys? All right, let's take a look over at Clarissa. He has 2 examples. So we've got this one versus the original reference. I think somebody said it in the comments, but I just think the camera's moving too fast. I would just slow it down, maybe by half the speed. Also, again, Maya does, I'm assuming you're using Maya. If not, whatever animation software you're doing is doing the same thing that Maya does, which is it creates an animation curve that looks like this. Oop, I just drew off the screen. That looks like this. And so basically it's slow at the beginning, then it ramps up and it slows down at the end. So you can kind of feel it like start to drift into the end and slow down a little bit and come to a complete stop. Usually what you want is your animation curve to just be like continuous. So it just like, so it looks like, because usually when you're a camera operator, you start to move it, then you hit record, and then you keep moving it, then you stop, and then you stop. Like you don't want to start and stop within the shot. In terms of the lighting itself, I just wonder if we can't go a little bit brighter on this side. But other than that, I think it's spot on. I think it's really great. The water looks good. It looks so interesting because it's like this painterly effect. And I think it was smart of you to put it in motion. yeah, that's all I really got on this one. And then we've got, I was saying offline before we went online, you were like the champion of macaroons and Oreos and sandwich cookie desserts in general. This looks like this. Oh, this is your reference. This is yours. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's really, really well done. I think it shows a level of skill that is one of my favorite things to demonstrate, which is skill in the subtleties. Like this type of shader on this macaroon is not easy. It seems like it's just a single color, but there's a lot of depth in the shader, a lot of subsurface stuff going on in there. The one thing that I would say is if you look in the shadows of some of this, there's a little bit more warmth. So I think just getting a little more orange-red warmth in in some of these shadow areas would be the big thing. Also, just looking at the pine cone, I think maybe the same thing. Like there's some smaller shapes in here, but I think there's also a little bit more warmth in this area too. This is a very clean render. I should point that out too. Now that we got this in motion, like this is a nice pace for it. And then same thing with this one. Just take out that ramp in and ramp out, and just make it like a continuous flow. And then just watch out for there's like a little bit of noise right in here.
All it needs is a mug of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
And some Christmas music.
Yeah. And you can just loop it for hours on YouTube for people.
For hours.
Yeah. All right, really, really great job, Clarissa. This is really nice.
And you can sell this as an NFT then.
Yeah, NFTs are insane. I'm not getting into that.
You can make millions.
Yeah.
Crazy.
If you can, go for it. It's I don't know, and it's like I just don't know enough about it. I'm gonna reserve judgment. All right, Tristan, this is looking great. Her shirt is tricky. I didn't realize I didn't realize her shirt was that glittery. It's like that is one that's going to be it's going to be really hard for that not to feel noisy, chattery.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, there's some more detail to it when it's in a higher resolution.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I mean,
it's super noisy right now.
Yeah, that might be fine. I think okay, listen. So the structure of this is great. I was talking about this in the example early on. The warm tone character over the cool tone background pops off really perfectly. I love there's just like some simple subtle things like the value, the slight hue difference between the four pillows. Like there's the two kind of orangier ones and the two kind of redder ones. Really good stuff. Like I pointed this out, like you notice when she blinks, like her eye dings are over top of that. So you just want to, where'd it go? There's another one. Yeah. You just want to, make sure that she's being cut out by her geometry there. Or her eyes are cut out by the eyelid. So that doesn't happen. But all in all, it's really good. There are some, and this is like although that, actually no, I was lying. I would say it looks like there's some penetration issues on the shoes, but it's not. It's actually, I thought this was the sock penetrating through, but that's like a specular highlight. So maybe tone those down a little bit.
Okay.
And then the other thing was, I don't know if it's motion blur or depth of field, but there's a couple moments where she looks out of focus almost. Like
I put some 2D motion blur on the character.
There it is. Yeah. I would in the final version I would just render her with motion blur. Cuz the 2D motion blur feels a little it's like stair steppy. Like you can kind of feel it. Which is weird. Okay. Teddy bear looks great. Everything else looks great. Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Any areas of improvement?
I just have a question. So for the 2D motion blur that you're using, are you using like the vector blur passes, or are you doing just a 2D motion blur node in Nuke or something?
So I'm exporting some motion vector AOV from Maya and using the node in Nuke then.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that was my only question, because just taking into consideration like what Mike said, I'm just trying to figure out like where the sweet spot is. I used the motion vector on that old man piece, and yeah, I mean, I found it way faster. But yeah, if rendering the motion blur makes it better, then sure.
It can work in. I don't have a good beat of when it works and when it doesn't. I can just see it, but like this just makes her feel fuzzy. Like it just like loses directionality, and when she moves, she just gets blurry, which is strange.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know why that. It might be the direction that she's moving is just not calculating correctly in the 2D space. I'm not quite sure why. But it's good. But all that being said, these are nitpicky things. The structure, the look of this, like looking at this, gives me a happy feeling when it pulls up. Like all the good stuff is there.
All right.
All right, cool. Let's hop into some stills. All right, Austin. So we've got the. This is the updated version. This is the previous version. Actually, I'll make these bigger. And then we've got the reference. So thank you for including all of these. So in this newer version, like we've got it nice and bright outside. I think it's looking really pretty. The only, and like you've got this nice play of the warm versus the cool coming in. It's all starting to play up really, really nicely. The question that I have is the source of this light. It feels a little bit strong. It feels, because like when you're comparing interior light to exterior light, the exterior light generally kind of overwhelms the interior light in terms of its intensity. Like in this kind of stuff, like this is all the brighter that this light gets. Like these lights are pretty, like compared to how bright this one is. So I think in this example I would tone this down a little bit. Also because we can see some of the light sources up here. It almost feels like this should be toned down, but also extend a little bit further over here to kind of accommodate these lights shining down, if those are in fact the light source.
Okay.
But
all right.
You've done a really great job. Like there's just, so usually like when you're first starting out, or like when I was first starting out, one of the biggest things you always see are like really sharp shapes, like sharp shadows and hard lines, which don't feel very realistic, but you're doing a really good job of softening everything. And that really kind of, that fits in the mood of the overall look. Yeah, and the overall brightness really helps. Sorry, what else did I say? Oh, and then something silly, just for the pool itself. If you can, I would end these lanes, and they kind of always end in like a T shape here. Mm-hmm. So I would just try and get that so they don't extend all the way to the wall. I'm not a swimmer. I don't know why they do that, but just like looking at, let's see, where's that? Like this one, like the way that these are here. Kind of goes and it stops like that.
They do that so that you don't have to look forward to see where the pool ends. You know, you're looking down.
Oh.
And you see, and you know, and the people that swim knows that like when they go by the tee, they have to do like two more, I don't know, motions, and then they'll get to the wall.
Got it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Got it. If I'm looking down in the water, it's a different situation. It's more drastic than that. So somebody help me. But no, that's really good to know. So yeah, so like that kind of stuff. Like I said, not being a swimmer, like it still kind of feels like it's just something you pick up on. What do you guys think? I think overall this is like I said, the main structure there is, it's just now getting some detail. So like once we get this light over here, it would be nice to get a little bit more of like the rim light on this character here. So that he kind of stands off in the background a little bit. I like the specularity on the shorts. I do think that like these inflatable rafts back here could feel a little bit more plasticky, or like mylar or whatever they're made with. But I'll open it up. What do you guys think?
I think it would be cool to have maybe a bit of bump on the water, just so that we have some more specular highlights instead of just a flat surface.
Yeah, trying to look at these. Like this one has some subtleness to it.
Yeah.
This one has
Just
a
a
lot more
little
people
bit.
in it, but yeah. Or maybe, let's see. You did a good job, like, because I'm looking at this as like, because this is like black tile, but it's kind of lifted, and you kind of have that level, maybe a little bit more lifted than that in their value, like a little brighter. But you know, too, it might just be getting some shadow variation underneath here too. Although that looks pretty good. I don't know. I think yeah, you're probably right, Tristan. Just a little bit of bump in there would help, or a ripple.
Okay. I'll try that.
I feel like the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, excuse me, if there maybe get some reflections of the lights kind of in the water, because if you look back at the references, you can see kind of some light reflections.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And that would help kind of make it, kind of sell the effect of that it's a water thing instead of just like, a flat surface.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Because the jumping off platforms are reflecting, but the light isn't, which is kind of odd. So,
yeah, I wonder.
That would be.
I'm trying to play off of that. Like, I'm wondering if that's just the angle that we're looking at, because like this, we only see up to about here, and so pretty much we only see like the reflections from like there down, because we're kind of lower. Where like these are a little higher at it, and although that one, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I can try to look for some reference images that show a lower down angle as well. We'll see.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I also I feel like the little chair is really tiny compared to the I don't know, the handles that you use to get out of the pool. I don't know if the chair is too small or the I don't know, stairs, which are not stairs, but the thing that you would grasp to get out of the pool, if those are too big. But it kind of gives me the impression that the chair is really tiny.
Okay, here. I'll change that around.
Yeah. It may not actually be that bad, but it's like it's just the window is so big. It's a massive window.
True.
All right, I'm gonna hop through these last. We got 3 more. I do want to. Yeah. Okay. Brenda. By the way, sorry, Austin. I meant to say this is like again. I know that you're still just getting started, and like you're light years ahead of where I was at this point in my career. So you're doing great.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. All right, Brenda. I think this is looking really pretty. I think it's. I think the extra brightness on those books is really helping. I think the depth of field is looking good. I was just wondering, and this is like now we're just kind of getting into some nitpicking things. I was wondering if just pulling a little bit of the red out of this, is where we want to end up here. Like I just kind of backed off a little bit to kind of pull back that. And I would like for me, I think this feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's really it. Does anybody else see anything? Maybe if you want to add like bonus points, if you could put some like floating particulates in the like you can just drop them in the light rays coming down. Just because it feels like a dusty room a little bit.
And how would you do that?
What's that?
How would you do that?
I would do it a couple different ways. There's a couple different ways that I would consider doing it. I would physically like maybe even try putting some like small shapes in the 3D scene and rendering out a pass of just like, or if honestly you could also do it in 2D space and maybe either make some noise or just like pull like just literally draw some little radials or dots in Nuke and then just put them inside this thing and then just kind of make them a little bit brighter and a little bit darker or different just kind of play it up a little bit. You can also I'm sure there are maps out there or like alphas of that type of thing that you could just plop in there, make it like glow them up a little bit and then cut them off to just that area. There's a few different ways to
Okay.
do it. Yeah, it's looking really good. All right. And Kat, you are here now. I know you said to wait until the end, but it just worked out that way. Yeah, good job. All right. So I think that she's looking less green now in her skin, and that's good. So I think one thing to watch out for, it looks like the interior of his mouth is blue. I don't know what's going on there, but
Yeah, I know. It happened earlier, and it was the way that a light was shining in.
Mhm.
I was like, is his ear hollow? Like, I was trying to figure it out. So I think I got to figure out which light is causing that.
yeah.
I actually I put a plane in front of his ear so it would block light. I'm like, well, that's not doing it because I thought it was coming through his ear.
So the one thing, so I think the next step that we should do is because now we really want to create. We've got the outside light, and we've got some spotlights inside. I want to start staging the blocking the light on them in like this center stage area, right? Because they're right now, like, their value is in the background is very dark, but their value is also pretty dark. And I think that we can make them brighter with some more light in that space. But again, make it in areas so they're able to move through light and dark. But let's start to see them be illuminated a little bit more. My computer just made a magical noise.
That's cool. That's always fun.
Yeah. So I would say to do that, there's we talked about in that one structure. There's the one light out here shining in. That's going to give the fill value, and then it's literally taking some spotlights into the area that they're running around and just put some more in there for right now. Don't worry about the background. We can add some more in there later, but like let's focus in on the center and just maybe create 5 spotlights that hit them in different areas to get them to brighten up.
Are you thinking like small kind of pinpointed spotlights, or
Think of it as like
it looking like lights coming from the machine? Because I don't know if you want to do like a broad cone or a small cone.
I think
Because if they're going to be passing through light and dark, you're gonna need to have some separation.
right. I think so there it won't be like pinpoint light, but it's like overhead lights shining down on them. So it won't be like super small, but it will be pretty concentrated to this area. Like I'm trying to think. I want it to hit them, but like maybe a little bit of this machine here, but like really center in on them there. Like all this stuff back there should still kind of fall into darkness. Because my thought was like we can highlight them in this region here, allow this mid ground to go into some darker areas, and then put some other lights further back here to create that sense of depth in the space. So, but like really but making sure that they're in the brightest column of light.
Okay, and then relative brightness to the other things, do you want them to be brighter than like the stuff that's bouncing off of the pipes, or less bright?
Let's take a look. I think that they should be. Let's just do this. So I want them to be about different shaping than this because they'll be more from behind them. But I want them to be roughly around like this level of brightness.
Okay.
So that they can, because now they can really kind of start to read off a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe a little more. Let's see.
And do you want a specific color, or do you want me to alternate light between the red and the blue, or just more like a white light?
Start with white for now, and then,
Okay.
and then we'll throw it in. I'm thinking it's going to be like, you know what? Make it a little bit like tungsten-y warmer, just like a slight bit of warmth in it. And we'll start there. To
Okay,
play off.
I can do that.
Cool.
Sweet, sounds good.
Great. All right, and last up we have Rick. So another pool scene. It's fun because this scene didn't get much use there for a while, and now I like it. I'm glad it's coming in. So so the first thing I thought when I looked at this is that I do like that it's nice and bright, but we are missing some of those darker values. So I do want to like, I'm thinking that we want to see like in here and in some of these darker areas, I really kind of want to feel some of those darker values coming in. Like I still want it to be bright, but just like a little bit more contrast in some of this stuff. And then I like that we're falling off light to dark over here. I'm wondering why this wall is getting this wall seems to be getting very bright, as well as like the ground over here seems to be getting pretty bright. And I would almost expect it, because like this falls off this way and it's getting dark, and then it just kind of stops getting darker. I would expect that right side to get a little bit I guess it would just be a little bit darker. I like then yeah, because this just feels a little bit flat in there. And this was something I was seeing when I was putting this together too, was that once you have all of these windows off to the screen left side, they kind of start to flatten out all over a little bit. I wonder if we should, since they're off camera, maybe play down, maybe do this. Maybe just have the light coming in through these two windows, and then play down the light coming through the foreground window, so it's all kind of back there. It allows the foreground to get a little bit darker and allows us to focus back there. I think there's this noise pattern that's in the water. I think it's a little bit too much. I would pull back on that a little bit, because pool water, like this might be a little bit too crystal clear. This might be a little bit too rough. So I would just I would tone that down, because I think the darks are getting a little too dark. Yeah, we might have to add some. A big thing with this ground too is that we're kind of missing a shader on there. So I'm not really sure if it's like tile or concrete or whatever the case. I think it might be worth it to put something on there to kind of help communicate what that floor material is. And then it would be great to get some translucency, maybe some subsurface scattering on these flags too, because they're going to be really backlit, and to really kind of read in that value coming through. Any other thoughts on this one?
Shin.
Oh, what's that?
Hi.
Hi, is that Ruby?
Yeah. Yes. Hi.
What's up?
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So, what are the gray rectangles that are the bright wall?
Oh yeah. Yeah, what are those? Are those shadows, you think? Or those objects? That's
because
a really...
they're kind of breaking on that one.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, it's kind of breaking here, which would indicate that it's a shadow. Yeah. Look, Rick, let's take a look at that and figure out what's causing that. That's a good call, Ruby, because that's feeling a little off.
Is it the same scene? Is it the same pool scene we saw earlier?
Yeah. Do you think it's...
I think it's the shadow of the lights.
Oh.
The lights at the top.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So we definitely want those to be not present. So soften that up. If it is like bounce light coming off the ceiling or something. Yeah. Yeah, good call, Ruby. All right. Good work today, everybody. Good stuff. All right. If y'all have any questions, post to the Discord channel, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right, guys. Be good. Happy lighting, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.